Another week and another high-scoring ding-dong battle involving an Irish province. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. The Stormers got an absolutely perfect start to this one. First of all, they use a series of up and unders, really effective for them, and I don't know why they used them early on, and then second half and towards the end of the first half as well, just abandoned the tactic for the most part. Maybe, probably Ulster benefit from some of them because the accuracy wasn't there, but if they had been accurate with them, it was actually working. But yeah, up and unders, they're up there competing for the ball. Ulster, pick about, I think, the third or fourth one or something. Stormers marching up the field. Ulster do get the ball, but then very aggressive rucking over the ball from Stormers. They turn it over, and then Roos just goes through a massive hole in the Ulster midfield over to score. He's like that guy's got some wheels, and when he's like that, out in the open, nobody's catching him. Converted for 7 points to 0. Stormers then work it back to the edge of the Ulster 22. They're not getting any further, so they whip the ball back to Feinberg Gamazulu. He drops the goal for 10 points to 0. Just took that so smoothly as well. That guy is absolute class act. Ulster then looking to hit back, stretching the Stormers' defence, looking to exploit space outside, but poor pass doesn't go to hand. Ben Loader picks it off, and over he goes for Stormers' second try. That's converted for 17 points to 0, and haven't even hit the 10-minute mark at that stage. Then Ulster, they have O'Toole, Timney, Herring, McCluskey, among others, all carrying well as Ulster work their way up to the Stormers' line. They've sucked in the defence, and then they move it wide to Balakoon, who scores in the corner. And nice pass from Jack Murphy out to the right there. Conversion is missed, 17 points to 5. Then we have a clever chip kick into space from Feinberg and Gamazulu. Almost leads to another Stormers try. Ulster gets the loose ball, but under pressure, and Cooney's kick gets charged down. Roos almost gets away. Then they work the ball out to Zass, and he's about 5 meters out, tackled. He tries to offload, but it goes forward, and it was very, very close to another score there for them, and feels like at this stage Ulster just all over the place. Stormers then go to the corner from a scrum penalty. That's one part of the game all the way through. They were dominant in another chance to score again, but ping for construction as they set up the maul and let off for Ulster really there. And if you're an Irish fan or a fan of the Irish provinces, you've seen this penalty so many times in the last couple of seasons because you know exactly what it is. The Irish provinces give away all the time. Jumper goes up and the two lifters slide in behind them and obstruct any kind of chance to get onto the ball carrier. And this time it's actually Stormers that get pinged for it. But yeah, Irish teams give away so often. Ulster then, they picking up the pace a little bit. Cooney thought he was in for a second, but they're penalised for clearing out beyond the ruck. A little harsh, maybe that one, but it's hard to say with that. At the moment, I think under kind of the current interpretation, I think it was fair enough. It wasn't a try because he never ground the ball, but the chance was chalked off. Ulster then work it back close to the line. Cooney snipes. He stops just short to go to the line again, but then they knock the ball on and just ball security not great for them there. Then they win a penalty at the resulting scrum after many resets. I think one of very few scrum penalties Ulster won tonight. Herring taps that and pops it to Timney. They're stopped short, but a couple of recycles later, and Warwick is over to score. That's converted for 17 points to 12. Stormers then monster Ulster again in the scrum. They decide to go for the post to stretch the lead before the break. The ball falls off the tee with a few seconds left. Fernberg and Gomazuli puts it back on, rushes the kick, but it goes wide to the left. He though straight away almost makes up for it, kicking a lovely 50-22. Stormers attacking into 22 from that line out, but Carson turns it over. He finds Lowry, who sets Balakoon away down the left wing. Balakoon then kicks it in behind, and Fernberg and Gomazuli just steps right across him. And then he goes to the bin, Ulster for a penalty from where the ball landed. And from there then they managed, forwards working it close to the line. They then go wide. Cooney hit with a really big tackle, some really good hits from Stormers in defence. But then Murphy does really well to kind of pick the ball up from a little bit behind him, and then he goes over to score. Nice footwork there. Conversions missed, but that's 70 points all, and it's half time. We then we got something we don't see very often at the start of the second half. Stormers pinged for not using the ball after being told to use it, because they were looking to set up like a massive caterpillar and a scrum to Ulster in a good position. McCann goes off the back of that scrum but spills the ball in contact. If he got the pass away, Cooney was probably over to score. We then have a Timo check for a clear out on McCann. It's ruled just a penalty for no wrap, as it's on the chest, not the head. So penalty, 5 minutes out. Herring taps that. They have a couple of goals to the line. Then Ulster go wide to Lowry. He finds Stockdale to score wide left. That's their bonus point try, converted for 24 points to 17. We then have a Timo check for a tackle by Fouché on Carson. There's no wrap. Both players are very low in the tackle. So you would have thought if there was a wrap, there's going to be mitigation there because of the relative heights of the players. But the referee Piardi says, there's no wrap in it. It's head contact. It's an illegal action. So therefore, there's no mitigation because of all of those. It's a red card for him. Stormers, they may be down in numbers, but the scrum still dominated. They win a penalty. Fernberg and Gomazula is back on for them now, so it's 14 versus 15. He then drops a goal shortly after for 24 points to 20. Ulster then work the ball up to halfway. Stockdale bursts through a gap, draws the cover, and passes wide to Zach Ward, who goes over to score. Murphy converts that for 31 points to 20. Ulster then offside. Stormers go up the line into the 22. They get good momentum in the maul. They go wide left before then coming back inside, and then Engelbrecht gets over to score under the post. Really well worked try, converted for 31 points to 27, and Stormers just won't go away. Ulster then score on the counter. Lowry steps Sass out wide inside to Timney, and then Moore dives over close to the post. That's converted for 38 points to 27. Stormers not done yet though. They go to the corner for a penalty. Ulster holding him out on the line. There's a knock on, but we have a TMO check. There's an Ulster hand in there in the ruck that caused that knock on. Harry Sheridan goes to the bin, and we're 14 players each for the rest of the game. Stormers opt for the scrum for the penalty. They have penalty advantage, and we come back after they spread it because Zach Ward intercepted and he was going to go up the field and score. So back for the penalty. Stormers tap that, and several drives at the line before then Roos gets over to score his second and the bonus point try for the Stormers. That's converted for 38 points to 34. Ulster then, they win a penalty as Stormers collapse them all. They go up the line to the edge of the 22. They're looking for that try that would finally seal the win, but Stormers get over the ball, win a penalty themselves. They go up the line into the last minute. Last chance for them. They've got to get things right, but they overthrow the line out. Tom Stewart gets there first. Ulster get the ball off the field. 38 points to 34 is full time. What a brilliant game. Both teams giving it their all in that. neither team, I think, is in brilliant form this season, but it set us up for at least a very entertaining, brilliant game from them. So we're going to have a look at stats, and then we'll chat a little bit more about each of the teams. So let me pull it up here on the official site and see where we are. Okay, so attack first, tries, 6 tries to 4 in favour of Ulster, 10 tries in the game, and also Feinberg and Gamazulu's, boot, almost a difference between the team as well. Cooney, normally, like in previous years, that guy like is dead eye from the tee, but tonight and on many occasions this season as well, his kicking from the tee has been poor. So has Dokes as well, and Ulster, they seem to be lacking a player who can really deliver from the tee this season. They are giving young Jack Murphy the kicks close into the post, but the longer range kicks is normally one of the nines kicking, but neither of them is in actually good form at the moment. Possession 55% to 45 in favour of Ulster, but Stormers very efficient with the ball that they had. Clean breaks then 10 for Ulster, 6 for Stormers, and on both sides clean breaks leading to tries. Defenders beaten 25 for Ulster, 15 for Stormers. Offloads then 10 for Ulster, 8 for Stormers. We saw some really lovely offloads in the build up to scores as well. Defence then, territory 50-50 in the game. I think, Ulster kind of had periods in the after Stormers got that start, had periods in the first half where they were trying to work their way back into the game. And then Stormers, similarly in the second half, when Ulster were trying to build a lead, they were getting the better of the territory then. Number of tackles then, 112 for Ulster, 149 for Stormers. Missed, 15 for Ulster and 26 for the Stormers. So tackle percentage, 80% each, which definitely down on what both teams, especially the defence coaches, would like them to be. We always talk about, kind of 85 to 87 is your pass mark in the URC, so neither team coming anywhere close to that. But with a scoreline like that, are you that surprised by turnovers then? 2 for Ulster, 7 for Stormers. Stormers winning some very good turnovers, especially, the one that led to the Roos try there as well. That aggression at the breakdown, really good from them. Kicking then, 1 kick retained by Ulster and 4 from Stormers. And that's just talking about the tactic early on in the game from the Stormers. It was working for them, but they went away from it in the second half. I think their kicks were a little bit loose and long in the second half, and it led to that score for Moore, right, when Lowry countered from a kick. But if they had kept the discipline in the kicking, I think that certainly would have been a way to victory for them. Kicking success then, 0-0 again as usual. I actually noticed before, I'm looking at the website now, and this is the one you're going to see. It still just says kicking success 0-0, but about 5 minutes ago, or whatever, 10 minutes ago before I started recording this, I looked at the site here, and it actually had Ulster 0-6 and Stormers 0-5. So I guess it's like kicks a goal, or it must be kicks a goal, right? So even that was wrong anyway. So whatever way they're trying to change it, they still haven't got it right. Penalties then, 11 conceded by Ulster, 9 for Stormers, and penalties played a big part in the game. A lot of the scores coming from kicks to the corners, taps, etc. Then on to players. So tries. So Warwick with 1 for Ulster, Evan Roos with 2 for the Stormers, the top scorer tries wise, at least in the game. Feinberg and Gamazulu there with the most points of the game, and again 14 points from his boot. And if you had got a try, that would have been the clean sweep, because he got his conversions, he's got a couple of drop goals, and he got his penalty in there as well. And brilliant performance for him on a losing side. Successful carries then, Dave McCann, 7 for Ulster. Evan Roos, another guy on the losing side, but doing so well, 9 from him. Clean breaks, Jacob Stockdale with 3. Stockdale starting to come back to, not just a bit of form, because, we've seen him in form where he scored tries and stuff, but he's looking more, hungrier, looking for the ball, coming off his wing, getting involved, and just looking like, the kind of player that we saw way back when he broke through initially. So big improvements from him, I think, in, recently. Evan Roos then, 3 clean breaks from him, 2 clean breaks from him, 3 from Stockdale. Defenders beaten then, Stockdale with 9, again, just showing that improvement in his play recently. And then Feinberg and Gamazulu, the guy just doesn't kick. Some really nice footwork from him as well, beating 4 defenders. Millers made then, Michael Lowry with 84. He's another guy, he's come back from injury. It took him maybe a little while to kind of get up to pace again, but tonight he was excellent. Ben Lodo then was 69. About half of those, I think, were that try he scored where the ball went loose and he went in. Yeah, it must be at least, because he went in from about halfway. So most of them were from that. Not much from him otherwise in attack, but, didn't really see much wrong from either tonight. Offloads then, Dave McCann with 2 and Dan du Plessis with 2. On defence then, Kieran Treadwell, 11 tackles from him. And then Ruben van Heerden, 17 for Stormers. Both of them putting in big shifts for the teams. And then turnovers, there's 1 for Ben Carson and 1 for Devanage there as well. But yeah, as I said, neither team amazing on defence, but pretty good on attack and entertainment as well. So let's chat about the teams. We start with the losing team first of all, Stormers. So they got that perfect start, like 70 points to 0. And I was actually thinking about it because the last time I remember the Stormers being 70 points to 0 up in Ireland like that was a few seasons ago at the RDS against Leinster, where they went 70-0 up. Leinster came back then to make it 70-0. Then they scored to make it 22-17, and then Stormers scored an unconverted try to make it 22-all in the end. And I think at that stage, I think I'm right in saying those are the first drop points of Leinster for that season. But this Stormers team aren't quite up to the level of that Stormers team. They were going against a pretty good Leinster team that night, and almost beat them away from home. This team this year, I think this is the first year really where there's a real vulnerability about Stormers that hasn't been there in previous years. Last year, they didn't have a great start to the season, but they still worked their way back up into, I think it was 5th place by the end of the regular season. But, this year, there seems to be like something about them where, 17-0 up, whatever happens with cards, etc., you would still expect the Stormers of, a couple of years ago, say in the same scenario against this Ulster side, you expect them to go on and win the game, and actually win the game fairly handily. But it didn't happen for them tonight. Ulster worked their way back into the game, poor discipline on both sides, keeping either side in the contest all the way through as well. But, for Stormers, the scrum was very good. Line-out not so good. There was a few mistakes on the line-out, including that overthrow right at the end that basically let Ulster get the ball off the field when Ulster should have been defending a push for Stormers to get to get that try that would have won them the game. But on attack, looking good. Fernberg and Gamazulu really is like a talent of a player, and it's not just kicking; it's the fact that he's got so many strings to his bow. The guy can step, he can go through gaps on his own. He can put somebody else through a gap. He's got nice range of passes as well. He's got kicking out of hand as well. Lovely 50-22 at one stage. Nice chips over the top as well into space. Looking for that kind of no man's land between the back three and the defensive line, getting in there, causing havoc. Lots of good things from him, and the fact that he was off for 10 minutes of the game as well. That the fact that it was him that was in the bin, I think that was part of what allowed Ulster to start working their way back into the game as well, because he really was running the show well for them. But it's another loss for Stormers, very up and down for them this season. And let me just double check, because I'm trying to remember, is that no, they won last time out, right? Yeah, they beat Scarlets last time out. I was thinking, was it a couple of defeats in a row? But no, they won last time out, and both teams I think won last time as well. Ulster, with a narrow win and another narrow win after that as well. But yeah, Stormers, it's hard to see, I never, even after last year again, where they had to put a bit of a bit of a run together to get into the playoffs in the end, I still didn't think this season that I'd be thinking at this stage, with now for them 4 games to go in the regular season, that they may not make the playoffs. There are teams in better form working their way up the table at the minute, and they've got to produce something now to get themselves in there. Otherwise, it's going to be a fairly disappointing season for them. We think the inaugural champions in the final the year after, then as well. And then last year again, not as good as they were the previous 2 seasons, but still this year I think it's a big drop off compared to that. So definitely a lot of work for them to do. On to Ulster then. First of all, giving the opposition a massive lead. It seems to be like in the Ulster DNA at the minute. They don't want to, for whatever reason, defending is optional for the first 10 minutes apparently for Ulster at the minute. And they've got to stop doing that, because especially they're going into Champions Cup now next weekend. If they do that in their Champions Cup game against, it's Bordeaux, I think they're playing, right? They're just going to get absolutely destroyed. There won't be any coming back from that there. But in this one, they did work their way back. They got that score initially, to make it 17-5. Then, Stormers had chances to stretch that lead again. Ulster kept them out, and then, they were able to get themselves back level there before half time. Second half, then they did kick on, which was important, because you see so often teams, they put a huge effort into getting back level, and then they kind of puff themselves out, and then second half then they fall away. Ulster didn't do that, but still they kept Stormers in the game as well, giving away some silly penalties. Also, their scrum, they need to do something about it, because it's a real liability for them. But they were able to come up with the scores that they needed at the right time, and they're able then to just about keep Stormers at arm's length at the death as well. So very important win for Ulster, because honestly I felt like that between these two, again, very similar situations for them this year, that very inconsistent. There seems to be a brittleness to both of these teams, that, a little bit of a push and there's, the resistance gives, and the opposition can get in for scores, and it, you never feel like, a, a sizable lead is actually, safe. Whereas if you look at both these teams maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago, you give either of these teams a 70-point lead against almost any team in this league, and you would have expected, that they would have come home with the win. So, Ulster still not out of the woods themselves, but certainly, definitely, obviously going to be the happier two teams because they're one, but, probably as well, the momentum from this might mean that they actually make the playoffs, whereas the Stormers, again, they've got to produce something to get in there. But Ulster, this might be kind of this one, and then like last week as well, might be the catalyst to bring them, really into contention for top 8 now, and maybe enough to actually deliver that, deliver playoff and deliver Champions Cup next season as well, because Ulster were the team who were, in free fall a couple of rounds ago, and now it's all turned around for them. But I think the good thing for the Stormers, or at least the light at the end of the tunnel, is that if Ulster were in that position a couple of rounds ago, and now they're back, in contention, the same could happen for Stormers as well. But they're running out of games. They've got to find a win from somewhere, and then just build on that. I talked about before where, at this point of the season, winning is the most important thing. Playing well is a bonus, and getting it. But if you can build that momentum going into the playoffs, then if you get like a run of 3 or 4 wins on the trot, and you win to the playoffs on the back of that, then it doesn't matter if your run started with like a lucky or a scrappy win. The confidence is going to build, over those 3 or 4 games where you're winning. And by the time you get there into the playoffs, the performance is going to come along with it, simply because the winning has lifted everyone's, confidence from there. And confidence players generally play so much better. And that happened. Pretty much the same thing happened to Munster the year that they won, right? They got, maybe, I'm not going to say lucky wins, but, wins where performance wasn't brilliant, but they had the grit and determination to win those games. And then the performances came on the back of that, and their attack got better and better. But that's the end for this one. So let me know what you think down in the comments.